Don't just live for tomorrow, or just live in yesterday. Just be glad for all you have that's in today. And though you've come through many obstacles.
Hey everyone, Connie here, and welcome to my blind reaction to Light It Up. This is a donation reward for Smurf Vlogs. And I know one thing about this film, that apparently Usher and Rosario Dawson are in it. And that's it. I don't know anything about what the movie's actually about. I don't know who else is in it. I know pretty much nothing. And I believe I've heard of it before, but that's about it. Like I've heard the name mentioned basically. But again, I don't know what the movie actually is. So I'm going into this not knowing anything, again, outside of those two actors. But I guess I could talk about that. One, I don't know if I knew that Usher did much acting. I know he's been involved with movies. Like, I believe he was involved with that Jingle Jangle movie I reacted to. But I don't know if I remember him being an actor. At least not that much. So I'm definitely interested to see his performance here. As for Rosario Dawson, I don't like her. I know she's a popular actress. I don't like her. I've never really liked her that much. But that's been especially apparent when it came with all the transphobia allegations and everything from a former person who worked with their family or whatnot. And from everything I've read, those allegations were never actually disproven either. So I can't really get behind her. But we're still gonna watch this movie, and it's just like, well, I don't like her. We're gonna see where this film goes. Hopefully the movie's still pretty good. Again, I don't know anything about it. I don't know what it's about at all. So we'll have to see. But all of that being said, we're just going to get into this, hope for the best. So when the screen fades to black, pause this redirect and go to the description below. Follow the link to the reaction, and after you watch it, come back here to the redirect and resume play. Because after it fades to black and then fades back in, everything from that point forward will be my afterthoughts and will contain spoilers to the movie. So, with that being said, thank you so much for tuning in, and I'll see you at the reaction. And we are back, and we'll begin with spoilers in 3, 2, 1, now. So, just general thoughts right off the bat. This was very well made. The acting, the direction, the writing and everything, the pacing of it all, very well made. And I think pretty much everyone did a really good job. Now, let's talk about what this is. So, this Light It Up is about a bunch of inner city high schoolers who end up holding a security guard / cop hostage after he accidentally shoots himself while being overly aggressive with a couple of them, most notably Ziggy. And the entire movie pretty much centers around the hostage situation itself and what they're going to do surrounding it. Now, when I first saw that clearly this is what this was going to be, like once the hostage situation was really going to get started and everything, I saw okay, this movie's clearly just going to be all of this. I was a little worried about the pacing because I was wondering because I knew this was about an hour and a half long, just from seeing the runtime when I opened the movie on my media player. So I was concerned that it was going to be a little slow, and surprisingly, it wasn't. Surprisingly, it actually held my attention throughout, and it really felt like it was going by at the proper pace for all that was happening. Um, and I really like the depth and character we get to all of our, well, characters as the movie progresses. We learn more about them, we start to see more to them. And even by the end, Jackson, who was one of the instigators of this event in the first place, one of the reasons why this all happened in the first place, he even flips on everything on these kids and takes their side because he has seen more to them. He has seen why they did this in the first place. From our main character's issues with the police due to his father's unjust murder, from um, Ziggy's not just abuse, but blatant, like straight up horrific, violent lashings and shit that he's receiving from home and why he ran away from home in the first place. Um, Lynn having gotten pregnant and the guy who got her pregnant not being there for her and just the concern over all of that and so on and so forth. Um, we get to see all of their different issues and how they manifest, and how they shape these characters, and getting to know more about it as the movie progresses, we get to understand them a little better. And really, when you come down to it, there's a few different catalysts for this entire thing, for the event in this film, that are real life issues that need to be addressed. First are obviously inner city schools that are in this kind of condition. In real life, like I mentioned in the movie, in the reaction, there are a lot of schools like this that are in horrible condition because the schools aren't being given any money to be able to fix windows or have proper materials and whatnot. And a lot of times, these students can often just not be learning what they need to learn and not be getting the education they need because of it. And I have my entire issue with how public education is run in the first place, but in these places, like you'll see students who genuinely do want to learn. You'll see teachers who genuinely do want to teach. But sometimes it's the schools who just see them as a lost cause, or sometimes it's the local government, the state government, who just won't give money for these schools to have any kind of success at all. And then the schools and the students are the ones who are blamed when it's not their fault. They're driven into this by the people in charge who don't care. You see this in a lot of different movies. One that comes to mind instantly is The Freedom Writers with Hilary Swank. That movie shines a great light on that kind of stuff. And by the way, it's just a phenomenal film. If you have not seen The Freedom Writers, I would definitely suggest it. It's based on a true story of a teacher named Erin Gruel, and it's heartbreaking, but it's also very inspirational. And it will crush your soul, but at the same time, it will lift it back up. It's one of those kind of movies. At least for me, it was. I've seen it 4 or 5 times. I have it on DVD. But anyway, so you definitely see how the school system is just, this school is just failing these students. And then the principal, who's like clearly swamped and clearly like not getting the help he needs either, he makes the situation worse. in every step of the way. First, he's showing that he does not care what's going on with these students, but then when something happens, he suddenly just fires the teacher, even though the teacher did the best he could in the situation, even though his action was very risky and in real life not what you want to do. Um, but he fires the teacher who is like one of the only good teachers in this school who actually cares and wants to teach these students. And everyone goes against it, and then the security is called, and it's this the principal has made escalated the situation, made it so much worse, and just he is definitely one of the catalysts for this. And then the security guard, the cop, Jackson, he escalated it even further because it was made very clear, like with his introduction, that he is overly aggressive, that he is way too overly aggressive. It made that very clear. It did not hide that fact. And even when we find out why he's overly aggressive, the fact is he still was, and he still was a catalyst for this situation getting started. It was very heavily his fault. And then once the situation's even underhand, the principal still like treats these kids as if they're nothing, as if they're just filthy criminals who just deserve to rot in jail. And it's like he's refusing to see any kind of other side to things. And it's just like, this principal just sucks. And then everything's escalated even further by this one cop who's running things, and he fucks everything up when he relieves the negotiator of her duties and everything. And it's just like, these kids, what they did is wrong. The actions they took in creating this hostage situation, in doing everything they did there, was wrong, unquestionably. But they felt that they were driven into a corner and had no other choice because of the actions taken by everyone else around them in this situation. Everyone else drove them to a point where they felt that they had no other options. To where if they had just given up at the beginning and just let everything be handled, Ziggy would have been returned to custody and everything with his father, who would have probably killed him, honestly. And who knows how much other horrible shit would have happened as well. So it's like, they felt like at the moment they didn't really have any other options. And they were driven to that. That was not entirely their fault. They were driven to that belief that they had no other choice. By everyone else who gave rise to this situation and escalated everything to a point where they are the ones who are really behind it in the end. And it's sad, but this kind of shit happens in real life. And it shouldn't. But the movie makes very clear who are the good guys and the bad guys, even with the situation. Even with the good guys doing some bad shit. It makes it clear that these kids are the good guys in this situation, that they are the victims who are going down a bad path because they feel they have no other choice. And it makes clear that the bad guys are the ones who escalated and created this situation in the first place. The principal, the cops, the security guard. It makes it very clear. And then in the end, one of these students just kind of starts to go crazy and get super aggro. And in the end, he is the one who eventually causes Ziggy's death. His actions cause Ziggy to die, showing that in these circumstances, with everything not only going on here, but in these kids' lives too, because we saw this guy, he had been dealing with gangs and stuff who had been like, the school's the only place he was basically safe from them. And so he's been driven to this through his life on the streets and stuff too. Everything is going wrong. Everything. And it's causing these kids to go down the wrong paths because no one is showing that they care for these kids outside of the teacher. But that's only like one person. That's not enough. They need more, and they get more, and that's why they're so excited when they see all these people out there cheering for them and chanting for them and holding up signs and everything. Because they're glad that someone is finally on their fucking side. And like I said, this shit happens in real life. Not to necessarily this degree all the time, of course. But you see all the time in real life, these kids are pushed to horrible shit and just thrown into horrible situations and horrible lives because the adults in their lives don't give a shit. Their schools are in such terrible condition. Their lives are terrible, and there's no one's caring. And again, not always the case for everyone. It's very situational. But there is a lot of cases that are similar to this. And that's what makes this so hard to watch, honestly. I've seen plenty of movies with a lot of violence in them, a lot more violence than even this movie. That wasn't what was disturbing about it. What was disturbing was the fact that these kids were right in a way. That you understood their point of view. Even if you've never been there yourself, you still sympathized with them. And it's like, they, again, making it very clear, they were not right in what they did. Their actions were wrong. They still broke the law. They still did really bad shit. But you still can't help but side with them, with the situation, with everything going on. And that's the thing with a lot of situations like this, a lot of movies with situations like this, is that it's nuanced. It's not a black and white issue. It's not one side is 100% wrong, one side is 100% right. You have to see the arguments here. And even though one side is like, yeah, clearly the good guys, one side's clearly the bad guys, you still have to see that there is good and bad being done on both sides. This negotiator and this detective in the cops, very good person trying to help them. But then you also have this other cop who's a very bad person and just trying to fucking kill them because he's on a time crunch. In the good guys, you have a lot of them who are just trying to get their message heard and just trying to fix up the school. And then you have this asshole who gets Ziggy killed in the end. And even the good guys who are just trying to get things fixed and just trying to get things back to normal are still doing some bad stuff. Or at least Usher's character is. And then it's just like, it's not like a 100% either side issue. Both sides have good and bad on them in this film, and unfortunately that's not always how it is in real life, but a lot of times it is. A lot of times it's not, a lot of times it is, and someone just beeped out there. Also, UPS truck stopped in the position where there's a light glaring off it right in my face. Gosh, that's blinding me. But either way, I really did enjoy this film. It was entertaining the entire way throughout. It was paced really well. All the actors did a great job. Um, and I definitely was interested in what was going on and how it was going to resolve in the end. And in the end, Ziggy was killed. And everyone else went to prison. And the one guy, it's presumed, was in there longer than the rest. But I guess he apparently found God in there or something. But everyone else was in there for like 1 or 2 years max, and then got to just kind of move on with their lives and everything, getting to go to college and all, and at least one of their demands was met. Actually, it looks like maybe two, because it kind of looks like the window was fixed too. The window was fixed and the teacher was reinstated. I don't know about the rest of the stuff though. But you just kind of wish that these situations didn't have to happen in the first place. And again, as much as I have issues with public schooling in America, especially, as many issues as there is, especially with how things are taught, kids need to go to school to a degree. There is stuff they need to learn still. And like, they need good schooling. They need teachers who are going to care about them and teach them properly. And they need schools that are going to care about them. Schools that are going to have the materials needed. Schools that are going to have good teachers. Schools that are not going to be in absolutely shit condition. I'm lucky. I am very lucky and privileged to have gone to fairly good schools throughout all of my young life. I went to like 4 different high schools. And each one was pretty good, had no real issues. It was well maintained, good teachers. Well, some good teachers, some not so good. But very average in that regard. And I learned stuff. And I had teachers who were fantastic, who taught me a lot of great stuff, not just about the subjects that their class was on, but about life in a lot of ways. And I really appreciate teachers who have done that. And I can only hope that we get more teachers like that, and that teachers start to get better pay, because they really need better pay. But that's an entire another issue. Teachers are so underpaid. The point is, I'm very lucky and privileged to have been in good schools when I was going to school, but not everyone is. And we can't just think about ourselves in these situations. We have to think about all those people who go through shit like this, who are put into these terrible schools, who do have to just kind of deal with it a lot of times. And because of it, they don't get the education they need. And a lot of them could go into bad places and into bad situations because no one seems to care about them. So overall, I think this is a really good film. I don't know where I'd rank it amongst everything else I've seen, but it's a really good film. And for Smurf and anyone else, if you have anything else you wish to request as a donation reward, feel free. Any donation gets you a reward, no matter how big or small. And anything is acceptable. You can request a series, a movie, something on YouTube, as long as I haven't seen it. Just ask me if I've seen it in the comments. I can let you know. And we can get all of that sorted out. It is completely optional, though. If you are unable to, or if you just don't want to, that's perfectly fine. It's not required and it won't take away from any other reactions on this channel. And even if you don't do this, you'll still get to see all of the movie reactions and stuff that do come. So you won't be missing out on too much altogether. But if you can help, it is obviously appreciated. um, but again, it's completely optional either way. And it's honestly the best way to get me to see certain movies, or if there's a series you would like me to react to, it gets it down the line quicker than a lot of times if I have to just get to it on my own. Um, I mean, some big successes with series reactions you would counter, like The Owl House, which I'm currently reacting to, and Kipo and the Age of Wonder Beasts was a really great one. I'm glad that was requested for me, and so on and so forth. I think, was Infinity Train a request? I don't remember. No, no, I think I did Infinity Train on my own. Either way, either way. If you have any requests, any suggestions, feel free to let me know in the comments and we can get that all sorted out. But again, if you're unable to, that is completely fine. Completely fine. But in the meantime, tell me in the comments below what you thought of this movie. What did you think of Light It Up? What did you think of the situations within? And for now, I'm Connie and I'm signing off. See y'all next time.